The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
All right, so with The Walking Dead finale being pushed out for a few weeks or however long, we've just figured we would talk about The Walking Dead in general. So to start things off, my name is Justin.
And I'm JP.
And we're The Podcasting Dead. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting that like button. Check out the channel if you like what you see. Maybe even give us a subscribe. You can check us out on Patreon as well, but we podcast about everything from The Walking Dead to the paranormal to the conspiracies going around the world to just what we did last weekend. So if you enjoy podcasts and discussions, check our channel out. In the meantime, so JP, we were looking for things to talk about, and you were just kind of scouring the internet.
That's
right. What are some things that you found?
Well, a couple things I want to talk to you about.
All right, talk to me about that.
Well, there is some wild speculation on the internet we're going to get into about a character long disappeared from The Walking Dead returning.
Let me guess. Are you talking about Morgan's son?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I've also got a what-if scenario for you.
Okay.
And we're going to get into, well, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, still, let's go.
No, man, I was reading something wild, and this is like recent news. They're talking about things people are buzzing about during the Walking Dead hiatus, however long it's going to be. And can you imagine in your wildest dreams, this is almost up there with Carl faking his death, kind of crazy. But certain people, and they've even approached the actor about this, how would you feel if season 11, some way, somehow, some scenario, Lori Grimes comes back on the scene?
That's not.
And I didn't make this up, dude. This is actually out there on a few different forums.
You didn't get this from We Got This, did you?
No.
Because they post them. I'm not saying they don't get, but I mean, I've seen a lot of bogus shit come from that site.
No, I do like reading their jibber jabber, but no, they laid it out. We heard the gunshot after Lori gave birth and Carl's in the room with her. It was off screen. We didn't see him put a bullet in her head. Also, Rick returns to an empty room, which we assume walkers drug her off and ate her, I guess.
One walker.
One walker, of course. And but no, like people are actually out there thinking, with Maggie returning, all this kind of stuff, we could actually see like an amnesia. How would you say that? Like you have amnesia, so what would that make you? An amnesic person?
An amnesiac?
I don't know, but people are thinking that, she could return in some kind of weird way. Of course, there's a lot of talk about Madison coming back to Fear, which is much more believable. But, yeah, man, like Lori Grimes making her way to Alexandria, however she would do that, and just popping up on the scene.
I would say The Walking Dead is dead to me.
Is that a jump the shark moment, you think?
Abso-freaking-lutely, dude.
What would you... I mean, first of all, there's only a few people who would even know who she was. Daryl would recognize her. Carol would recognize her.
Right, like who's alive left? Daryl and Carol, and that's basically it.
Michonne didn't even meet her, did she?
No. She saw a picture of her, though.
Right. Yeah, she did. Yeah, that would probably be a jump the shark kind of moment.
They don't think she's the one wearing the mask with the two little sickles, do they?
I've heard that too. Yeah. Well, I mean, not heard.
Oh my God, Lori could not. No, I don't put any stock into that, man. I would honestly not like. All right, so I kind of understand why. So some people were saying Dwayne might come back, Morgan's son, because they're thinking about the storyline where Michonne's daughter.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Remember where we've, and sorry, comic spoilers here, but my God, they've been done for like a year. So, I mean, get on it if you want to read them.
Get on it.
But, so in the comics, Michonne's daughter reemerges, one of the daughters that she thought was dead. Her other daughter was dead, right? But she had a daughter still alive, and she finds her, and a lot of people think they're going to kind of do that with Morgan and Dwayne. because we never saw Dwayne die, and Morgan was batshit crazy at that point and having a mental breakdown, which I thought the mental breakdown was because Dwayne died.
That's what I thought.
But maybe, I don't know. But that's what some people think. And that, to me, that would almost be a jump in the shark moment. And I get that I get why they would do it, because they're still following, though they do their own thing, they still follow the blueprint left by the comic. They just might switch out characters and things like that, but they definitely follow the blueprint. So, I don't know, man. I wouldn't. I hope it's not Dwayne. Not that I wouldn't want to see a grown up Dwayne, but because let's see, gosh, he was probably about Carl's age, right? He was like 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that range. So now it's been. So he'd be like 20, maybe
like that. But I mean, if I remember correctly, I know you've been back through the show more recently than I have. The way that Morgan describes it, like his zombified mother standing over Dwayne, and didn't Morgan say he hesitated just for a moment?
Yeah,
and that's when he got bit,
and she just tore into him or something, and something to that effect. When Rick, and she just was no. He says she was on. She was just on him. Like he's describing it to Rick after Rick and Michonne and Carl enter town, that enter Morganville, where he's taking over an entire town. And I'm pretty sure he says she was just on him. But maybe I don't know, maybe we'll see a flashback, and what it was that Morgan saw her jump on him, and instead of helping, his son was like, Dwayne, no, and then just ran off.
Maybe Dwayne,
thinking he was dead.
Yeah, maybe Dwayne was lucky enough to be right beside a dumpster.
Maybe that would be like a revenge thing. Dwayne rolls under the dumpster and it's like, whoo, thank God there's a bunch of these on.
Yeah, I mean, that's
in this
the
world.
Safest haven you can have in a zombie apocalypse, just a dumpster. Who knew there was so much space underneath those things?
We said the president was crazy when he said, I want a dumpster every 6 feet.
Yeah.
Look at us now, surviving the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, they come in handy. They sure do.
Well, I don't know that I've ever seen any that I thought were high enough off the ground to crawl under, to be honest with you.
Sat flat on the ground, because don't like the garbage trucks, don't let the things go on the side and lift it up. And
they do, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Man.
But we don't live in a city either. So, I mean, it might be different in the city.
Yeah, maybe so.
But I don't know. And the more and more we just sit here and discuss this, the more and more I feel like it could maybe happen. Now that we're talking about like we said, maybe Morgan, because like remember Andrea, they left Andrea thinking she was dead because they saw a couple zombies take her down, but then Andrea didn't die. She killed him, and they looked, and for a brief second they saw like a zombie pull her down and thought they got Andrea, and they left. But maybe that's the way it is with Morgan. Maybe,
dude, if he just turned tail and ran, like,
I'm sorry, Dwayne.
Oh, I gotta get the hell out of here.
I mean, I don't know, and they could write it. I mean, he could have gotten hurt, and maybe it was all a blur, and
maybe it was like on a moving train, and somehow the boxcars got separated, and the train's going down the track.
How did the mom zombie get on the train, though?
I don't know. At this point, this whole scenario is so convoluted. It might as well happen on a train. You know what I'm saying?
I got my boy Dwayne on a train.
Or maybe they were like on a big raft going down the river, and the raft starts splitting up.
But how did the zombie get on the raft?
I don't know.
How did she get on here, Dwayne? I told you to check the raft.
Look, maybe they're floating down a river of lava on like robotic lava scooping drones. I don't know. I think I'm just thinking about Revenge of the Sith. But
I was going to say, and then I guess they're going to, I have the high ground, honey.
Yeah. Morgan had the
unhand our son.
Oh, jeez. I don't know, brother. But I hope it's not something convoluted like that saves Morgan in the whenever fear comes back.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Dwayne. But I don't know, man. What do you think? Do you think they would do that?
I hope not, man. I hope they don't. If they bring anybody back from that, I don't even know. I don't know who they should. Who would?
They don't always have to bring a character back.
Yeah, you could just introduce a new, dynamic, like Princess.
Well, our friend Derek was sending me some info about this character off of, and hold on, I'll pull that up here in just a second. A character off of one of the games, but it's not a character that I like. The characters I want to see is off of like Telltale's Walking Dead. I'd love to see like Clementine or Lee or Kenny, one of these cool characters. I don't want to see Duck though. I never liked Duck. I've never been so. I'm usually never, the one that enjoys a kid getting killed off in a show, or at least let me rephrase that. It makes me sound holier than thou. I'm not one who typically will admit that I'm happy that they killed a kid off of a show or a game or whatever. But when Duck was killed, and I'm sorry, that shit happened like 8-9 years ago. If you haven't played the Telltale Walking Dead yet, sorry. There's a zone for spoilers. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I would love to see one of them. But hold on, let me see what I've got here. I've got the info. Go to my slow Facebook Messenger, taking its time. All right, what we got? Here we go. So it's a character from Road to Survival named Barker, and he's got these little he doesn't have the same sheath type. He's got like 2 swords, but a lot of people are thinking that might be who it is. But I hope not, man. I don't want some character from a mobile game showing. Who gives a shit? Yeah. Give me a character we've had an emotional connection to. Not one that's basically in just a human-shaped Pokemon, because that's essentially all it is like a turn-based. If I remember, I played Road to Survival for like a week, and it got really repetitive.
That was the one you did not like.
No, I didn't hate it. It's not for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the game itself, I'm sure if you're into those, you're fine.
You enjoyed the one with Michonne.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the Telltale games, which is what had Michonne and Clementine.
Oh, you're talking about one
of
the cell.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I don't care for someone off of the mobile game to show up.
Gotcha.
But then again, I don't know. If you played the mobile game longer than I did, it only lasted about a week for me. But if you played the Road to Survival, was Barker a good character? Did you form any emotional attachments to these characters? Because in the week that I played it, it was very cut and dry and just kind of like Pokemon, but with zombies and Negan, or the governor. So it was just, I don't know. It was weird. So, but what I saw, I didn't see, like I said, if it's going to be a comic book character, man, I would have just lost my shit if stumbling through the woods would have been little Clementine with her hat.
Uh-huh.
Man.
Is there any word yet if they've cast like Mercer or Pamela or anyone like that?
I've not seen.
Yeah, and I haven't either. I wasn't sure, man. I was not sure.
I hadn't seen yet. I'm sure some super fan's going to be like, oh, hell yeah, that's going blah, 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 blah. But I hadn't seen. I figured like that would probably make headlines.
Idris Elba would be great as Mercer.
Yeah, but how is he? Idris Elba was battling the coronavirus.
Yeah, hopefully he's doing better. I know he's, not as old as God rest their soul like John Prine or, people like that.
Right.
But it's crazy, man. It's crazy. A crazy bit of casting. And this is where my what if scenario comes in.
Okay. I do love what if scenarios.
What if alternate universe things went so differently for so many people? Instead of Carrie Payton, I got his name right?
Yeah, I think it's Kari Payton. It's Kari Payton, but
he instead of him getting cast as King Ezekiel, it's Joe Exotic.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine that?
All right, for the long-time listeners, all right, so if you're new to the channel and you don't know what the Barn of Pleasures is, in just a rundown, it's basically because Fear the Walking Dead bored us so much at one point that somehow we ended up making up these very sexual, erotic skits, I guess you could call them, with a Barn of Pleasures that features all the Walking Dead characters, and King Ezekiel's kind of the head of the group. But if King Ezekiel... Man, he'd just be like, just get over here, Jerry. You know I love that tiger costume. I've tried drugs. I have tried drugs, and I am broke as shit. What if Joe Exotic played Negan?
Oh my
Not
God.
King Ezekiel, Negan.
Like had a leather leopard skin jacket, or no, I guess it'd be like a red leather jacket. I don't know, man.
Now I'm gonna have to kill one of you sons of bitches, unless of course you're working with that bitch Carol Baskins. In which case I'm gonna kill all of you like she killed her husband.
God, man.
He talks real nasally and, kind of like this. I was very disappointed when I found out he didn't actually sing any of them songs.
Oh, God.
He kind of laid tracks over top, but someone else was paid to do Because I'm not the biggest fan of country music in the world. I mean, there are country songs that I like. There are quite a few that I like, but I wouldn't say it's my main genre of music. But, I was thinking when I watched the documentary, like, wow, this guy's got an incredible country voice.
Too.
Like, I wonder, why he's not got any bigger. And then I learned it's because he basically just paid for someone to sing, and then he sang over top.
Who do you think you got? Like Tracy Lawrence, maybe?
Here, kitty.
I don't know.
No, he didn't get Tracy Lawrence. So they say the guy's name on the documentary. Carol Baskin says their names, but I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure that's actually true.
Huh.
That bitch, Carol Baskins.
I thought it was him too for the long.
What does he say? He says something. I'm gay. I have tried drugs, and I am broke as shit.
Yeah. But I've been actually going to like his old YouTube channel and seeing.
I have. Yeah, I did too, man.
I can't help. I can't get enough, man.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Probably
Absolutely.
the best recommendation you've ever given me was the first week that the Tiger King was.
Just
on.
imagine how happy you'd be if you take my other recommendation and watch the Umbrella Academy.
And I don't think anything could top the Tiger, which they're two. Totally
How do you know
different.
Joe Exotic won't pop up in the Umbrella Academy?
Yeah, you're right. We don't know what he was getting into before they wrongly prosecuted him.
Did the professor do? Not the professor. What was it? It's like just see Joe Exotic just pop up. Now y'all come on now. We got to save the world.
But I got to thinking,
I brought my pistols.
because I looked at my King Ezekiel action figure last night, and then I saw this like doctored up thing where it was like a Joe Exotic G.I. Joe style action figure.
Right.
And I was just like, man, I wish I could actually buy that.
Welcome to the Barn of Pleasures, y'all. Now, y'all sit down and shut up. Take your clothes off. Go and get that process started. My name is King Ezekiel,
Oh my!
and I am going to do every one of you.
Oh God in heaven!
Except for you. You're a little too old. Who here is above the age of 19?
I was gonna say.
All right, turns out I'm only going to be having sex with about 2 of you. The rest of you can leave. Jerry, you stay in that tiger costume.
He likes the young meat. He likes it. God in heaven.
But yeah, no, I don't know, man. And I just looked it up, and I haven't. The only thing I can find is where it was people imagining The Rock as Mercer. I do not want The Rock in The Walking Dead. Man. And I like The Rock. He seems like a good guy in real life, and I mean, some of his movies are kind of ugh. But I do like The Rock quite a bit. I like him as a person. He seems, I like him, but I don't want him in the Walking Dead world just because of the actor he's become and the style of movies he does. I don't want to bring that kind of, and I mean, which I don't know. Maybe he would come in and wow me. I just feel like if he came in as Mercer, he's got to be the star. That's my main thing. Is, I'm sure The Rock doesn't do something where he's not the star of the show. I mean, that's just kind of how your agents are when you're at that point in your career in Hollywood. So I mean, if he would play Mercer, and it was one of those deals where he was not because Mercer wasn't the star of the show. He had some attention. There was some focus on him a little bit, but so I don't know. I just. Terry Crews could do it.
Terry Crews would be good. I could see him maybe pulling that off because he can do serious roles too. Gosh, I don't.
Anybody else?
I'm trying to think. I don't know.
That bitch Carol Baskins.
Yeah.
No, she wouldn't be a very good Mercer.
No, she wouldn't.
She could play a good Pamela, though.
Yeah, you might be onto something.
Pamela's
there.
never really. Guy, could you see Joe Exotic in the Barn of Pleasures? No, the rest of them done gone on up to that Commonwealth with that bitch Pamela.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Golly.
No, I'm trying to think who could play Pamela. I'm not going to lie, to be honest with you. And I thought it was cool. I like when they do things like how they switched up Alexandria when they first get there. Remember, what was it? In the comics, it was run by a guy named, the guy's name was, no, how did they do it? His wife's name was Regina, and they changed the name to Reggie. Basically, Alexandria was, in the comics, was run by a guy, and, he had his wife. Well, in the comics, they switched it, and it was a woman running Alexandria, and then her husband's name was Reggie. And they kind of switched the names up, which I thought was really cool the way they did that. But to be honest with you, the lady that played the leader of Alexandria, man, I feel like she would have been a good Pamela.
Yeah, she would have, man. I could see, I forget her name. She was red on a orange. Well, no, I don't know about that. Oh, maybe.
Red on Orange is... Oh, yeah. No, I don't see her play. I like Red a lot, but I don't...
But, she played a captain in she was the captain on Star Trek Voyager.
You also got it. Who did you get it mixed up with and say she was last time?
Well, a lot of people have said the same thing. She looks just like the lady who...
Yeah, you were telling me. Yeah.
I was so convinced, man, because I didn't realize how kind of chunky... I forget the name of the actress who plays Red in Captain Janeway, but she's gotten a little thick over the years. She's still a beautiful older lady, a little thick, but yeah, she, like I said, the role she played on Star Trek, man, I think she could be a good Pamela.
I'd be down with that, but no, I don't know. She doesn't really. I don't know, man.
She'd have to get a little leaner though, because
God, just being clueless. If you had Laurie Holden come back and play Pamela the same way she played Andrea, Pamela's one of those characters like in the comics, man. Like just F her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She's not a terrible person per se. Well, she is, but she's not sadistic in the way that like Negan, and she's not a murderer. You know what I mean? She's just a dumbass,
just a bureaucrat, just like
pretty much typical politician,
right?
And true to real life, all they ever really care about is just themselves and their career. You and I can burn for all they give a shit as long as our ashes somehow generate votes. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Who could pay? Mercer and Pamela. Let us know in the comments section who should be cast for each.
I'd like to see the chick that do you remember Jag? It used to come on TV, CBS. They were like military lawyers. And it was the hot chick. She had
I do remember
browner
that
skin,
show.
Short hair, and she was also on Bruce Almighty. She was like the slutty chick that tries to F Bruce, and then Jennifer Aniston sees him and all this stuff. You remember her?
Maybe.
Well, yeah, I don't know that actress's name, but I think she'd be good at it.
Yeah, you should look her up. Yeah, I'd like to know your suggestions in the comments below. Who should play Mercer? Used to be that so rude. Who should play Mercer and who should play Pamela? Who should play Pamela's? Oh man, her son, man, what a big role he has to play. Even though his role's not going to be able to play out in the same way from comic to show, but he was a little. Is anybody gonna play older Herschel Jr.?
Oh, dude!
Even though I really, really hope they don't do him like they did in the comic.
He was such a little prick.
I hated him in the comic once he grew up. Yeah, he was a douche. Yeah. But yeah, so was Pamela's son.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, man. Now it's kind of one of those things that I don't think they realized it when they did it. Like they might switch it instead of it being Pamela, it's a dude this time.
Yeah, they might do that.
And I say that because think about it like this. All right, so with Pamela, she's got her son. He's a douche, and he does some really douchey shit. And yada, yada, yada. Okay, like big time douche. Mm-hmm. This sounds real familiar, does it not? It sounds like Deanna and her son, Spencer.
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, granted, it played out a little different. So I feel like maybe they'll switch it up and it'll be a guy and he'll have a douchey daughter.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. A little gender swapping.
And then who would she kill? Because we know who the son killed. I say child, but he wasn't a child. He was a grown man. But we know who the son killed in the comics. But who would get killed in the? There's two people that two deaths to fill if they were to stick through that. Two iconic moments.
Yeah.
And I wonder who would take the. Do you think that's how Carol will meet her end?
Dude, now that's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad theory, right? Carol will go to the Commonwealth because Carol is just not. She's a survivor, but she's like one mental breakdown away from throwing herself off a mountain. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this lifestyle she's living out in the wild and fighting, it's just bringing out the worst in her. And I mean, how long can she continue to do it? So perhaps she'll go in Rick's place to the Commonwealth and, she'll get Rick's fate. And then
or that other guy's fate, who knows?
And then, dude, yeah, she could.
She pulled a gun on Alpha. She could very easily do the same thing with Pamela.
But then, who would be the one to kill her?
I think it'd have to be
Daryl.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Do you think that, dude? That would be holy shit. Now you're getting into some like The Walking Dead. I don't think is brave enough to pull that off. But dude, that is totally totally the way it should go. Now, if you haven't read the comics or you haven't finished the comics, you may want to tune out. And if you plan to get there and you don't, but we're going to spoil the shit out of it. But if you don't mind it being spoiled, well, then we're going to tell. So, all right, in the comics, the way it works is Rick and some other, well, actually, Rick's not the first, but a bunch of them end up going to the Commonwealth. I say a bunch, I mean a few. Like one group goes and another group follows behind them. Well, Rick and Dwight are in a group. And basically, this civilization has people kind of in a class system. Granted, Dwight sat back all quiet. I guess maybe he didn't want to let it happen again. But, with Negan, who was treating people way worse than the Commonwealth was, they just were more or less like, if you were a waitress in the old world, you're going to be a waitress now. They had a class system. And don't get me wrong, that's wrong. But they weren't like beating people with baseball bats and shit. They're a very civilized society. And old Dwighty boy just is not having it and pulls a gun on Pamela, the leader of the Commonwealth. And sadly, Mr. Grimes has to pop him in the dome. And it was something that Rick himself died wondering if he did the right thing or not. Like it wasn't something he did easily, but he pops Dwight in the head. And then later, Rick is killed by the son of Pamela. Yada, yada, yada. So I'm wondering if Daryl and Carol will go. God, what if Carol had to be the one to put Daryl down, though?
It could go either way, man. Definitely one of the most jaw-dropping moments in the whole comic series.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're interested, we've actually got the review of that issue. I can't remember the number. But
it was one of the last few.
Yeah, we reviewed that. It was a pretty good podcast.
Oh,
We reviewed like the last, 10 issues or so.
Easily, yeah. We did
with
it for
the Commonwealth story coming up, it might be worth revisiting.
I think we started with the Commonwealth, right? Didn't we start right before the Commonwealth?
Probably so. So if you're not so gung-ho about actually reading the books, just recap with our podcast.
Yeah, that's on the channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Daryl will have to put down a rabbit Carol. Or Carol will have to put down a rabbit Daryl. I feel like Daryl would be the one most likely to have to shoot Carol because Daryl can sometimes be whatever, but Daryl here in the last few seasons seems to have a much his head's a lot better screwed on than past seasons, and Carol's the one we see. And I mean, I know she's gotten some clarity with after the whole Alpha death thing, but I think that could be the way it goes. Carol sees that people are being taken advantage of, and she's just kind of has this, because then that would make all of this that she's been through kind of worth it. Mm-hmm. Because then we would completely understand why she would snap. She'd pull out a gun on Pamela and be like, no, this is just like Negan. This is just like the governor. This is just like the Whispers. We can't blah, 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 blah. And Daryl could be, trying to talk her down. Carol's, put the gun down, blah, 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 blah. And Daryl could, shoot her in the head to stop her from killing Pamela and basically ruining what could be a great life for everybody.
And getting everybody killed or jailed or starting a war. I mean, any number of bad things.
I honestly feel like, in closing, I feel like if it was going to be that scenario, if we were going to swap the characters out, Rick and Dwight for Carol and Daryl, that I think Daryl should be the one to shoot Carol, I think would make more sense. But I feel like they would, I don't know. I think
that would, that'd be beautiful.
I mean, it would just make sense for Carol to snap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Not saying people don't get better, but things like with the trauma and the PTSD and the things that Carol's going through, it's just not easy to get over. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes a person can seem like they're doing much better, and something can trigger like a resurfacing of that, at least in the little bit of schooling I've had with, like psychology or whatnot. So, I mean, would make sense for Carol just to be faced with another tyrannical leader who's, while not murdering people, is just, and that could be why Daryl decides to, he's got to, because it's like, yes, Pamela's wrong, but at the end of the day, this isn't, the same as Negan and the governor and all of these other tyrannical leaders they fought before. Like, she's not actually murdering anyone or doing anything like vile per se. She's just a politician. And that's why Daryl realizes that Carol, as much as he loves her, is never going to be able to readjust to society. And I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments section. Doubt that'll ever happen. But, man, what an interesting turn of events if it does.
If it was the last season, man, I could see him giving Carol that kind of send-off. But we'll see.
We'll see. But either way, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And that is going to wrap it up for us. Don't forget, new Patreon podcast tomorrow, available exclusively to patrons. You can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/thepodcastingdead. We'll have a Weird Wednesday podcast up Wednesday. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a good Monday. Stay healthy and stay safe out there.
Yeah.
I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.